Good morning, everyone. I am Leva Mesa in Cebu, and today we will be discussing the last topic for Group 6, which is literature grammar integration, the four-pronged approach. So, using literature in teaching English and communicative competence has been argued to be beneficial to learners. So, literature in teaching English has been widely recognized as beneficial for learners because it doesn't only develop their reading ability skills, but it also develops their communicative competence. So when we say communicative competence, it is our ability, human beings, to use language correctly and appropriately in real life context. So through literature, students are exposed to meaningful language use. They are also exposed to meaningful expressions, and they're also exposed into different ways of communication. So through literature, students can understand how English are used in real life context. One approach to integrating literature in the language class is the four-pronged approach. So because of this, the four-pronged approach by Basilia Manhit was introduced. So this approach focuses more on integrating literature and teaching language skills and components to our learners in a more meaningful and student-centered way. So when we are learning, when we are using literature, we are not only helping our students construct sentences or paragraphs that are grammatically correct, or we don't only teach our students some grammar, but we also teach our students vocabulary, just like what we've discussed. We also through literature, students can also learn how to read, and students know also how to communicate. So in using literature to teach our students, we don't only develop the students' grammar, but we also develop their vocabulary, their reading, and their communication. So this, the four-pronged approach was introduced to help our learners learn language skills and components as well, not just grammar. So now let's proceed to the four-pronged approach by Basilia Manhit. And the first prong is genuine love for reading. So in order for you to teach your students grammar or any other skills, the first thing that you need to do as teacher is to help your learners be genuinely in love about what they are reading, because this is what exactly the first prong is, their genuine love for reading. So in this stage, its objective is to develop learners' appreciation to read. So in the first prong, in this approach, the first thing that you needed to do is to help your learners be genuinely in love about what they are reading. So what's that mean? So that simply means that you help your learners to be curious, to be interested, and to be excited about the literature that they are reading. So because when they are not excited, like when they are not excited to read stories, so it will end up dili na siya masabtan sa learners, because they will just read the literature because you wanted them to read it, not because they are willing to read the literature. So if the students are not excited or not curious or not interested in the literature that they were going to read, so it is not easy for your students to understand well the literature. And if that happens, of course, they will not learn about any other skills such as grammar. So in order for you to help your learners learn, you first need to do is to help them also be genuinely in love about what they are reading. Because if they are not curious, if they are not interested, and if they are not excited to read the literature, they will not learn and understand what they are reading. So just like us, even us in college, when we are not interested about the topic that we were going to learn, if we are not excited about the topic that we were going to study, we will end up not understanding what we are studying. So the same way as students, if they are not curious, if they are not interested, and if they are not excited to read the literature, it will end up na dili sila makasabot and dili pud sila understand sa ilahang gibasa. That's why the first thing that you needed to do is to help your students be genuinely in love about what they are reading. So how can we actually teachers do this, or how can we actually develop or how can we help our students na mas ma-inlove sila sa ilahang read. So, the first thing that you needed to do is to have pre-reading activities. So this involves motivating the learners to create interest for them to read. So we have actually pre-reading activities. We already done this during our demonstration teaching, wherein before we let our students read some literature, so we let pre-reading activities to awaken their curiosity and their excitement or their interest. So during my demo, and one of my demos, I've actually done this pre-reading activity. So one of the pre-reading activities that you can actually do is to like present pictures. So for example, when you want to teach your students the literature or story of the Hare and the Tortoise, so all you have to do is to present 2 pictures. So it can be reading activities, and you will ask them, among these two pictures, or the first thing that you will ask is, who among you here knows what these animals are? So after you ask that, of course, they know what turtle is, they know what rabbit is. So that actually awaken their excitement or curiosity into that picture. So after asking that, you can also ask your students that if these animals will have a race, who do you think will win? So after also ask the question, they will also think, oo ka no, kung if kining duha mag-race sila, unsa kinsa ka sa ilahang madaog. So that pre-reading activities can actually develop your student curiosity and interest to read the literature. So after di mo mag-present og picture, pwede man to na mga reading activities. After presenting the picture and asking the question, you can also, the second step for you is to ask motive questions like, have you ever been in a race where you were underestimated by others? So pwede nga na mga questions, motive questions. So by giving pre-reading activities and by asking motive questions, it can actually develop their curiosity and their interest and excitement to read the literature. So after the motive question, the last thing is they will read the selection or the story na dayon. So by doing the pre-reading activities and by asking motive questions, students we can actually awaken our students' interest, curiosity, and excitement to read the literature. Kaysa diretso mo sila ingon nga, karon nga adlaw we will learn about the story of the Hare and the Tortoise. So if diretso lang nimo na sila ipa-read, so mawala, dili na sila interested to read the literature. So pag ingani mo siya like pre-reading activities and motive question, mas dali ra na sa ilaha or mas interested na sila mabasa. Kay pag human nila nga, pag muas madayon ka nga, di ba earlier I've asked you if who among these animals will win if they had a race. So in order for you to know who among these animals will win, so we will be reading the story that is all about the Hare and the Tortoise. So dito na dayon, in order for them to know who among these animals won the race, so they need to read the literature. So in order for you to know kinsa ka sa ilaha duha ang nadaog, so kinahanglan nato basahon ning story karon. So it is very important nga dapat sabto ninyo ang story para masabtan ninyo kung unsa gyud ang buot pasabot o kinsa gyud ang nadaog sa pagong ug sa rabbit. So that's how can we assess our students' interest, curiosity, and excitement when it comes to reading literature. So the first prong is all about being genuinely in love about what you are reading. So next is the second prong, which is their critical reading. So after reading the selection, the teacher engaged the learners to process the reading activities. So it also involves post-reading activities. So in the second prong, it focuses more on the understanding and the analysis of the learners when it comes to the literature or the story that they have read already. So earlier, we've they are, in the first prong, they are actually in the process of reading the selection or reading the literature. But in the second prong, they are in the process of after reading the literature. So it focuses more on the critical thinking of the learners, their understanding, and their analysis when it comes to the literature that they have already read. So in this prong, it focuses more on the post activities. So earlier, we have pre-reading activities. Well, in the second prong, we have the post-reading activities. So the post-reading activities, as usual, when students are done reading stories or some literature, the post activities are more on questions about the literature. So we have actually two different questions or two types of questions that we can actually ask to students after reading the story or literature. So we have the literal questions and we also have the interpretative questions. So in literal questions, these type of questions can be seen in the literature itself. So it can be seen in the story. So it doesn't need the learners to analyze their answers on your questions because it was already there in the story. Like the question, who are the characters in the story? So it is already in the story, so they don't need to analyze the question. While the interpretative questions, it is a type of questions that students need to analyze because you can really see it in the story. So for example, the questions like, why do you think the tortoise win compared to the rabbit? So pwede po, what is the story teaches us? So kana ng mga questions is dili na nila makita sa or makita nila pero need nila i-analyze ang situation sa story. So like atong why do you think nganong mas nadaog man si tortoise kaysa si pagong kaysa kang rabbit? So need nila i-analyze nga naman tuon na daog si pagong kaysa kang rabbit. So aside from that, need po nila i-analyze ang question nga unsa ang lesson sa story because dili man na nila makita gyud sa literature nga ilang gibasa compared to literal questions. So to continue the second prong, Jeve will take over. So that's it for my part. Thank you and have a good day.
I just had to let you know you're